Here we will look at a make versus buy decision. Moby Corporation makes engines, which it sells to automakers. Ford is one of their customers, and Ford has just requested an engine on a limited model truck. This truck requires a special compound gear. Moby's determined it's going to need 10,000 of these compound gears in order to fulfill the Ford order. And Moby's accountant has calculated the cost to make these gears. Should it make the gears, it would have fixed and variable costs of $5 and fixed costs of $3. That's per unit. Moby's accountants also determined that if they were to buy the gears, it would buy them at $4.50 per gear. One might stop and say, the total cost to buy the gear would be $4.50, and that's less than the variable cost to make the gear, so we should just go ahead and buy those gears. But let's dig a little deeper into the variable costs. Moby's accountant determined it was $5 of variable cost to make the gear, and it determined this by looking at the three different components for the compound gear. There's a large, a medium, and a small component. The original cost for the large gear was $1.25, the medium gear $1, and the replacement cost for the small gear was $2.75. The sum of these three numbers is the $5 that the accountant came up with as a total variable cost. Let's look a little bit closer at each of these gears and the different costs and determine which costs are actually relevant in making this decision. If we look at the large gears, 10,000 are needed and 10,000 are in stock. This is the gear that Moby stocks regularly for other products. It did cost $1.25 for the stock gears, and it would cost $1.10 to replace these gears. The scrap value would be 90 cents per gear. Now the medium gears, 10,000 are required and only 8,000 are in stock. It costs $1 for the 8,000 gears that were in stock, and the replacement cost would be 30 cents a gear. In other words, for the additional 2,000 gears that are needed, it would cost Moby 30 cents to go ahead and purchase those. Now this is a gear that Moby does not use in any other products, so if it weren't going to use this in the compound gear order for Ford, it would go ahead and scrap these 8,000 gears at 15 cents each. Now the last component, the small gear, 10,000 are needed but none are in stock. So there's no original cost. And that's why the accountant looked to the replacement cost of $2.75, because the accountant knew that for these 10,000 gears, they would have to go and buy those, and it would cost $2.75 each. The scrap value would be $2.50. So if Moby had these on hand, they think they could sell them for $2.50. So now that we understand a little bit about the different costs for each of the different components, let's look at an incremental analysis so we can determine if we should make or buy these gears. So first we'll determine which costs are relevant to make the compound gear, then we'll look at the cost to buy, and we'll determine which is less. So for the large component gear, since this is the variable cost to make the compound gear, we're going to include this as a relevant cost. Now remember from your reading, a relevant cost is not the sunk cost. In this case, the sunk cost would be the historical cost of $1.25. Instead, it's the cost of replacing the gear. In other words, it doesn't matter to this decision at hand that they spend $1.25 on the gears that are in stock. Those costs are spent and are therefore sunk. However, if Moby uses those large gears for this limited order, they're going to have to replace those large gears since it's used regularly in other products. So for the 10,000 gears, the large gears, the relevant cost would be $1.10. So we'll go ahead and put that amount in our cost to make column. 10,000 gears at $1.10 replacement cost. That would be the relevant cost related to those large gears. Now for the medium gears, Moby spent $1 on the 8,000 gears that are in stock. But again, that's a sunk cost. So the original cost of $1 really isn't relevant. Now for the 8,000 gears, the only other option for these would be to scrap them at 15 cents each. So that's the relevant opportunity cost to consider. So for the medium gears, the in-stock piece, the 8,000, the opportunity cost for those would be 15 cents. That's what Moby could do if it didn't use those gears for this order. Now, it still would need to buy 2,000 more gears And for those gears, it would buy those at the replacement cost of 30 cents each. Now the last piece is a small gear. Moby doesn't have these on hand, so it would have to go purchase these. So the relevant cost here for the 10,000 units would be the replacement cost of $275. Now we can include the fixed costs in our analysis as a separate line item here. However, it's going to be the same amount under either situation. So if we include it in the one column, we have to include it in the other. Because those fixed costs would be incurred if we were to make the gears or if we were to buy them. They're unavoidable. And the last cost to consider would be the cost to outsourcing the gears. That's only relevant if we buy the gears. The outsourcing cost would be $4.50 times the 10,000 gears needed, or $45,000. So if we total the relevant costs to make the gears are $70,300, and the relevant cost to buy the gears would be $75,000. Therefore, even though the initial view of $5 variable cost to make versus the $4.50 to buy might lead you to believe that you would want to buy those compound gears, you can see now, looking closer at the relevant costs, Moby should actually make the compound gears.